on the horizon. It's been said that those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear will play a paramount role in the furthering of humanity and civilized society. But can civilized society and humanity survive the coming conflicts not seen since a dawn of time in ages bypast? But you can find true forms of information and knowledge in abundance at revolution.radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the globe. Stand upon the right side of history.
General Homer, you've got to get us out of here now! I won't let you down. I won't let you down, son.
Revolution.
And good morning, happy Thursday. Welcome to Morning Coffee Rants with Dan. I am the spiritual anarchist, Dan Arnold, your host. Today is April 9th, in the year of all of us, 2026. I have quite a few things to talk about today. Just based on a lot of things I'm seeing. You know, there's a lot of darkness in this world, obviously. And no one's getting to the causal factors of it. I'm listening to certain influencers who have I'll just say medium level of followers that they're nowhere near like the top, who really aren't doing shit. I feel like people like Joe Rogan and Alex Jones and other people who are way up there, they're not doing humanity a service with their audience because they're not speaking about, you know, the true problems of this world. And then there's these medium guys who've got 400 and some odd thousand followers, or 20, you know, whatever. They've got medium level, like 57,000 followers, 70,000 followers. It's impressive. I've got a couple hundred. I had 3,000, but that's still, these are all drops in the bucket. And they're talking about, well, they get into the politics. They start talking about how, well, Iran said one thing about blah 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 in peace talks, and it's going to be 2 weeks of not a ceasefire, and then Trump said da 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 da, and obviously they're either both lying or one of them's lying, or this is all a plan, man. You all can't see it by now. How did all the governments of this one world government that they want to have eventually with smart cities, 15-minute smart cities, and complete control over every portion of your life, How did all those world governments work in tandem so perfectly together in the year of all of us, 2020, to just 6 years ago at this time, the whole world, every country was pretty much locked down, or at least ordered to be, and have put diapers on their faces. And set the stage with so much dramatic things that aggravate each other's base in this country to divide this country so perfectly that a certain voting party, the cult of the elephants in power now in the top office, is it's being justified by the followers of that cult to get their pound of flesh back for what the cult of the donkey did in 2020. Man, they're fucking working together. You all are dumb. You can't see it by now? More and more people are waking up to what's happening. However, not enough large influencers are actually speaking about the causal factors of what's going on. They're not getting to the point. They're not drawing the proper hypothesis. So that way you understand what's coming next. You connect the next dot easier. They want to keep you arguing over the minutia. It's all minutia. It's all noise. This is why when I do podcasts now, and I've been posting my videos, or I post these radio shows as podcasts on YouTube, I do so with careful wording, but I've also turned off, comments. I don't need no minutia. You could just accept what I'm saying from my experiences as a guy who's been in law enforcement on every level, state, local, and federal. Federal was the worst. And was weaponized used as a weapon. We were the brute squad. I'm not saying low-level cops don't do good. When I was working for local jurisdictions, many of us did. I'm saying ultimately, mindlessly following the order of something higher, supposedly higher than you, when there is no such thing, is always immoral. People not understanding what objective morals are. People not understanding that we are indeed sovereign. That at the signing of the Constitution of the United States, I personally was not present. That is not my document. I did not go into that agreement. Nor did I go into the agreement of the 14th Amendment that made us all into property. Are there some good things written in that quote-unquote Constitution? Sure. But I don't need a person, another man, a human being, to scribble down on a piece of paper, here are your rights. I wrote them down right here. Here they are. Here, you can read them. These are your rights. Take that Constitution and wipe your ass with it. I know my rights. My birthright is freedom, the right to self-defense, and the right to pursuit to happiness under nature's creator. And believe me, nature knows what's going on way before humans do, because humans are stuck in their phones. Humans are being bombarded by electromagnetic frequencies. Humans are being poisoned in the air by what they're spraying. Humans are stuck in their trauma and their ego and greed. They don't understand that what they put out is what they're going to get back. This is karma. This is natural law. This is the law of causation, cause and effect. It actually exists. And with some of us, it's worse than it is with others. I don't know why. I'll find out. That's a question I'll have someday. But all supernatural things are nothing but simply natural things that have not yet been explained by scientific methods. I've had quote-unquote supernatural experiences. I'm going to be writing. I am writing about them in a third book, and I wouldn't even be talking about that book yet if it wasn't more than halfway done. You would be amazed if you found out that this realm we live in is more like the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars than it is more than you think it is. Okay? So again, my work can be found on YouTube at Spiritual Anarchist Daniel AR5907. I also post some of my work. I'm going to probably continue to do that here shortly on the onegreatnetwork.com/Dan-Arnold. As always, I'm grateful that Mark Passio brought me on board with that. I am learning things in how to become the true media. And because I'm going to get into this in something else in a second here, I'm just going to go into it, some of the stuff I'm seeing, because all this stuff, it's stuff. It all comes together to create the perfect storm that we're in. This isn't biblical prophecy. One of the things I want to talk about is that I experienced this, and I think we all at one point or another will experience this in our life. If you don't have haters, you're not doing something right. It's that simple. I'm at a point where I don't give two shits what anyone thinks about me, about anything. The world is burning. Speak your truth even if your voice shakes. If you're a law enforcement officer listening to this, I'm not against you guys. I'm for you guys. I did the job for over 25 years. If you count my military service, in the Marine Corps was 27 years. I joined during a war. I'm glad I didn't get deployed. I'm glad I didn't murder for the old people of my country, because that's all wars are. Young people that have nothing against each other murdering under the auspice of it's some type of great cause of freedom. All the order followers of the world now are going to go out and murder each other for the old fucks that won't do nothing themselves. It's not courageous of a certain politician or this leader or that ruler doing something for their masters, who are a dark priest class. And those ones are puppets to something else. This isn't human driven. Pay attention. Wake up. So, one of the things that I've had to deal with in my own life, and I had a self-defense situation. I'm not going to really say a whole lot about it, even after next month. But I've had to deal with. I've dealt with 5 people that were close to me who died. Yesterday, a song came into my head. Have you ever had a song come into your head out of nowhere? A song you haven't heard in years. And this song was released in 1976. And how did this song go? Let me think here for a second. That's totally lost me. Oh, it's called Time Keeps on Ticking, Ticking, Ticking. Into the future, fly like an eagle. Everyone knows that song, right? I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Time keeps ticking. You got to live your life. It doesn't stand still for anyone, right? And then I get a call and found out that my 83-year-old uncle in Georgia died. That's 5 people in 2 years. Live your life. Get out of your phones. I'm not even on Facebook. I check in every once in a while, and I deactivate it because it's not real connection. They want us in our phones, not out in nature. So I'm working on getting out in nature more. That'll help you return to, getting out in nature helps you return to that natural state. It helps you return to truth. It helps you to center yourself and ground yourself, to get out of the fear porn that they keep you in. But one of the things I've had to deal with is, again, the dark side of envy reared its ugly head. The dark side of envy is jealousy and laziness. If you don't have any haters, you're not doing something correct. Some people might say, well, wait a minute, envy is one of the deadly sins. There's a light side to envy? Yeah, there is a very positive light side to envy. Of that which you're envious of makes and creates a drive in you to emulate what you envy. How many people have envied Bruce Lee's ability, or Muhammad Ali's jab, or some current MMA fighters this or that? It can be described as envy. If you use that admiration as emulation and you focus your attention on becoming better at that thing that you envy, that's the light side of envy. You're becoming a better person. The dark side of envy is most definitely jealousy, and and it leads to resentment, and it's derived from laziness. There are no shortcuts. I had somebody with a mental demented problem who pretends that he's me and that I'm my actual stepdad, and I had a very brutal childhood. And it's like, hey man, if you really want to be me, then you need to go through what I went through. And if I'm that mark for you, you're going kind of low, personally. In my opinion, you could have been much better, is what I would say to anyone I'm teaching or trying to help or have helped at one time. And when you help somebody, be careful, because they'll end up resenting you. And make sure when you do help somebody that it's not some business interaction. I never help anybody with the thought, I'm going to get this in return or that in return. I don't even do it with the thought of, I'm going to get good karma for this. It's just what I do. It's what a lot of people would do. Most people in communities help one another voluntarily. Most people will do the right thing. We're tribal. We know we need to do this to survive. I'm not saying in a free, higher conscious, anarchistic society that there wouldn't be bad people here and there. But we wouldn't all be at war. Because initiating harm to another sentient being is wrong. Another thing, I was talking with my brother about this yesterday, is unhealed wounds. Hurt people hurt people. And I mean, it's that simple. If you don't heal your childhood wounds, hurt people will hurt people. Shadow work, when you're stuck into solitude for as long as I have been, it's solitude, and sometimes it is loneliness. Sometimes it's trust issues. I'm human. The ego seeks to always keep us safe. But when you're alone enough, you will face your shadow. It's a guarantee. And you can put your shadow to work for you. What is the latest, most positive expression of it? Or you could try and deny that shadow, which is something you really don't like about yourself, or you're embarrassed of, or something that could be used as a shame weapon mechanism against you. And the only way around shame is speak it out loud. Then they have nothing they can use against you. And it's not as bad as you think if you haven't initiated harm to another sentient being. If you have one of my shadows is extreme anger. And I'll vacillate between, that motherfucker deserves this, and excuse my language, or, I want to forgive them and wish them healing. Well, I can hold space for both. And I can do so without fragmenting it in my own head. Because that's our job, is to bring together contradictions, actually unify all fragmentation and paradoxes. And when we do this and we heal ourselves, why is it important? Because when you heal yourself, you're not as easily triggered by your personal biases, which means you're not going to fall for every lie you're told. You become sovereign. You become indifferent to some of the things you can't control, but you become very aware of those things you can control. And humanity can get together and control our so-called leaders, which are really rulers, and say, we've had enough. We're not going to war for you. We're not fighting for you. We're not going to be in 15-minute cities to be your slaves. Nothing you're going to do is going to make us agree to our own enslavement. Nothing you do or say is going to manipulate us into bringing harm to another being for you, for your greed, for your inferiority complex, for your ego gone rogue, for your masters. Let them come forth. Let them scorched earth the whole place. Let them do it. Let them incur the negative consequential effects of their actions instead of getting their order followers to do it for them because order followers are dumb. At the end of the day, if you yourself are doing an action as a cop that is a contradiction to what you really believe, or as a soldier or as a Marine, it don't matter how smart you are in one area or another, you're being used for evil. Nobody took that oath to commit evil, but that's what we all end up doing at one point or another. I was spiritually bankrupt and morally corrupted in that job. And the contradictions drove me nuts, and I got the hell out of it because it's evil. You deal with some of the worst things in humanity, then that's not before I even get to the people you work with. A contradicting legal system that's been monetized, where there is no real justice. They're more interested in egoically getting money and having a check in the win or loss column than actual truth. I'm not saying there aren't courts or there aren't systems within little systems that do endeavor and people have some type of moral, ethical structure to them who do try to do the best job they can within this entire immoral system. They exist. My hat goes off to you for what you're doing. As a small town cop, at one point for a local jurisdiction, I pulled this guy over 2 different times, gave him a break he was driving drunk. I stopped him, got him off the road, had his family come pick him up. Because in a small town, I don't want to be just some idiot cop and be out on the side of the road. Well, there's that cop he's getting his ass kicked. No, I want people to see, this was community policing. I want people to see me when I was out there. And if I was on the side of the road getting my ass kicked, they'd be like, oh my God, that's Dan. I wanted to be seen as a human being. So I still did the right thing. I got a drunk off the street without costing him a bunch of stuff. Now, if I had to have gone a third time, could they have held me responsible? Could they have thought I was a bad person if I hooked him, wrote him, took him to jail a third time? I'm not saying there aren't cool cops. I'm not saying there aren't cool people in the military. I was in the military. I'm just saying what they're doing now is they're using safety as a weapon, and they're doing it with health. They're doing it with safety checks. They're doing it through making people fight one another to think that their side is the right side because people are egoically, committed to who they voted for. It's just wrong. They've divided us expertly. Now that they divided us expertly, it's time to turn the world against us. And we'll fight each other over that instead of coming together. Not as America. Not as Iran. Not as, is it real? Isn't real. But as humanity. Humanity, assemble. Don't celebrate the demise of your fellow human beings. If they were fooled by a so-called politician they trusted into taking a poison injection, don't smirk. They were murdered. Feeling righteous about that because you voted on the other side, you're not doing anything right. How can I feel right about somebody who's been fooled? I know what it's like to be fooled and bamboozled. So anyways, unhealed wounds, man, hurt people. Being unhealed keeps people in a state of fragmentation and willing to accept contradictions and lies. It allows them to play to your personal biases, and it thwarts truth and higher consciousness. Religion and the belief in authority abdicates your own sovereignty and personal authority. Jesus wasn't a Christian. 300 years after, I think it was that long, after the attempted murder of Jesus and torture, some humans got together when they were putting together the New Testament, for the religion of Jesus that he warned about that was going to happen. They took 57 of those texts and they had them buried in the desert. See, I don't even know if that's a little bit of an op in itself, because I know back in those times, if they were really serious, they could have gotten burnt, couldn't they have? But what happened is there were some people who didn't want the truth destroyed. And it is said that these 57 Gnostic texts, which were about 45 miles north, buried in the desert of the pyramids in Giza, these were the real teachings of Jesus. They didn't want those real teachings coming out, because those real teachings, Jesus spoke the truth to the point where his own followers had bad feelings in their heart against him. Read the 57 Gnostic texts. You can find them on free. Library.gen has them. Or just type in 57 Gnostic texts of Jesus. You'll get them. You'll find them. You'll find a download. You'll find a PDF. You can read them for free. Jesus tells the truth about what's happening. There's a reason why they attempted to murder him and have the border followers of the time torture him. Every religion seeks to have some savior. I got so much here I can talk about. I'm going to be getting into manipulation, but I want to go to something else real quick. Let me see here. Okay. So, in Gnostic, mystical, and early Christian esoteric traditions, the Christ is a state of realization, the Christos. Okay? It was an oil that people were anointed with. It was probably said, some beliefs think it's to help open up the third eye and to help you get to higher consciousness. But what Jesus was trying to teach at the time in the Gnostic text, which is what he was teaching, was the Christ is a pattern of consciousness that's available to all humans once you remember. And this is why early mystics called it the Christ within, the Christos. So the Christ wasn't a person. A Christ was actually a function. It was a state. It wasn't a title. Okay? In the simplest definition, a Christ is the human who becomes fully aligned with truth, love, and our divine nature, and then helps others to do the same. As a natural law function to express it. Christ was teaching natural law. People keep asking, well, what do you mean by that? Well, when you strip away the theology and the man stuff that's put in there, men's lies, okay, and cultures, and any other type of mystical overlay, Christ becomes a behavioral and structural role inside natural law, not some supernatural exception, but a pattern of alignment. Okay, Christ is the function that restores coherence and is trying to teach natural law. And natural law is truth, non-harm, sovereignty, responsibility, reciprocity in all ways. This is where self-defense comes in, and this is where being good to your neighbor comes in. Also, consequences for actions. Because when humans violate these, they fall into fragmentation, incoherence, self-deception, fear, and dominance or submission. So really, he was teaching a function of consciousness, and he was not a religion. When you realize that he actually flipped over tables, that's actually in the scriptures that they allowed, and chased around people, the Sadducees and Pharisees, with a switch and calling them all hypocrites, and that they attempted to murder him for it, and that you may have been lied to about a few things, You have to start questioning everything. So think about this in modern day, from a modern day standpoint, man. Okay, just call me a blue collar scholar, I guess. But from a modern day standpoint, do you get the truth from mainstream and you think it's the truth? How many times have there been lies that have come out 40, 50, 60, 70 years later about any given thing, or something gets declassified? How many times did they lie about extraterrestrials and now it's all being declassified and disclosures here? Do you think do you think it was different back then, that the powers that shouldn't be told the truth back then? No, we're fighting hidden scrolls buried in the desert or in the mountains, the mountains of Palestine is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. Which, if you read those, especially the Ethiopian version, you are going to get astronaut theory. There's no way you can't put those two together. And you need to remember that those who created us, they're not gods. They're higher beings, and they're not God. Read Slave Species of the Gods by Michael Tillinger. Read Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper. Read Mass Engineering Human Consciousness by, what's his name? Oh my goodness. Keith? Something Keith? It'll come to me. You have to do a little bit of reading. You have to think for yourself, man. And I learned to talk to people, like where I live, there's a lot of like highly like Christian religious people here, and some people who are like diehard Trump, and I can talk to them in a way, and by the time I'm done with them, they're agreeing that we've been turned against one another. So in person, in my personal life, besides speaking on here, I'm making some type of a little bit of a difference in my area by being able to do this, because I'm not being combative with them. Teachers don't have to be like that, especially with people who don't know what you know. I'm like, as a black belt instructor in several different things, or as a nearly purple belt, assistant coach in jiu-jitsu even, I'm not going to treat a one-stripe white belt or a gold belt, green belt, or something else in one of the striking arts the same way I'm going to treat a second-degree black belt. So in that same token, I'm not going to go at somebody who's been taught a certain thing, and you could literally see the conflict going on in their head as they think about it, and then the light bulb kind of going off like, yeah, that's true. Now all you got to do is get them to heal wounds so they're not having their personal biases used against them and their emotions played against them. And they'll start to reconcile the contradictions in their beliefs. And then they'll start to eventually see the truth. That we're all being manipulated. And here's the thing, all manipulative attempts come from a space of fear, lack, jealousy, or gleeful, maniacal evil. Yes, that does exist. Some people are just that damaged. They refuse to look at themselves and ever admit they've done something wrong. They might feel bad about it on one level, but they're possessed by something that won't let them. And people who are drug addicts and alcoholics, I'm talking daily use, you're right to do whatever you want and put in your body whatever you want. But when that pathology starts turning you into a bully, making you lie to everyone, including prosecutors, harm others, attempt to harm others, threaten, and you're a second-degree black belt, no, I have nothing for you. I want you to understand something, folks. There's a CIA guy out there who has a channel. I forgot his name. I'll probably, since I'm talking about it, I'll get his name and say his name later. But he has something, and this really resonated with me. He said there's only three kind of people in the world: motivators, manipulators, and those who are being controlled by one of the first two. So when you take things that you learn about human behavior, motivation, and you use it to motivate people, that is what could be considered the light side, the most positive expression of having that knowledge is to motivate people. If you use it for personal gain, selfishness, and things that are going to bring harm, that's called manipulation. You can't get what you want through direct means. So you're using it to manipulate instead of motivate. If you take a martial arts skill and you're not using it to help improve somebody's life and help them better themselves and empower them and teach them to defend themselves, and you're using it instead to be a bully, because you conceived being talked to a certain way as you were being bullied, no. Sometimes a football coach is needed. Sometimes being told something in a way that doesn't feel good is kindness. Kindness isn't always going to sound nice. Sometimes it is rude. I don't think you always have to be like that, but at certain times, in certain ways, you do. If you have somebody that's not, let's say they don't care about your sovereignty, they don't care about you in some kind of way, and this is always going to be close friends or family members. They'll stay up all night smoking, drinking, and partying while you're trying to sleep because you got to go to work, and they think you're a bad person because you told them they can't do that. This is manipulation when they're trying to make you feel bad about something. This is when you have to exert your sovereignty. A lot of times people don't even realize that they're so upset by having bosses of them in other areas of life that they will rebel against somebody who they look at as a position of authority or something or confidence in their family or friend group. You're never going to take away my confidence. Sorry, no one will. Dark magic, psychology, or any bullshit will not work on me. It did once. It will never again. I know who I am no matter where I'm at. So my message to anyone out there that this is resonating with, or it's like, oh man, that sounds a little bit like me. Well, maybe it is. Maybe you need to heal. Maybe you need to go look at the mirror. Don't practice lies in front of the mirror so you can try to master your microfacial expressions or win a debate that means nothing. Debates are all, to me, debates. A lot of people who win debates are just really good at being wrong. That's not communication for discernment. That's ego. We need less ego in this world. We need less debates and more discernment. But any action that comes from a space of lack and fear, and I know this from experience. I'm human. I know this from experience. Any action that comes from a space of lack and fear always ends chaotically with the most feared results. It can be no other way because like attracts like. So when that vibration is put out there, it is what inevitably is coming back to you. So whenever I have a person like that around me, it is very easy to read that they're being manipulative. I'll starve them of their manipulations. They're just doing it because they don't think they can get what they want through direct communication. Okay? What I'm describing with manipulation is something that many people feel, but they can't articulate it. And if you can't articulate it, I want you to think of it like this. If you leave a conversation with somebody, be it on the phone or in a meeting or in person, and you're exhausted, you're being manipulated. And your subconscious knows this. Your subconscious will tell you this. So you have to know how to... And I understand not all manipulations are bad. But again, they're not. If you're manipulating your 4-year-old child into eating a scrambled egg and half of a avocado or something for breakfast instead of having a cupcake and some sugary cereal, they're not going to understand when you say this is just much better for you than that. So you might have to do it differently. Okay. When you have the baby in the chair that's only 6 months old that doesn't want to eat its food, and you do the airplane, you make it into a fun game, they'll eat it. You're being a manipulator. So again, I know there is a light side to manipulation as well, but what happens is when you are a real empath because of a very abusive childhood, or you're a real empath because of volatile emotions that were constantly fluctuating and flipping 180, you could start reading the field of emotions very easily. That's what a real empath is. And we're not some weak, sensitive people. There's nothing weak about my sensitivity, believe me. Now I just give people the gift of my absence if I'm not going to get respect. This is what you need to do. This is boundary setting in life. Okay? So, like I was saying, most people can't articulate this. When someone operates from fear, scarcity, jealousy, or that gleeful little, I'm going to get one over on this person impulse, their entire field, their entire energy to me changes, and energy does not lie. The fear does not lie. The yearning, the hungerness, the unstableness, it does not lie. I can feel it. And I know I'm right. The vibration always loops back in on itself. Fear will always beget more fear, just like violence begets more violence. Control begets chaos. No one wants to be controlled. So manipulation eventually will beget the exact loss of control that they were trying to avoid. Okay. Why I read these people so easily personally is because my nervous system isn't operating from their frequency. It stands out to me. As a cop who worked the same shift, the same day of every week at a certain time, making the same patrol routes, although I'd switch up the routes, you get to see patterns. You get to see which business is closed at a certain time, which gas station is closed for a break at a certain time, who's taking their dog for a walk at a certain time. Some people are such creatures of habit, we all are, that when something isn't happening that usually happens, it usually will jump out at you, actually. So when I'm kind of reading the room, getting the frequency of the place, and if I'm going to be speaking or talking or whatever, I'm not seeking people's approval. I'm not trying to get advantage or leverage over somebody. I never do something nice expecting something in return. That is a business transaction. That is not actually helping somebody. And something else I'm going to say right now: you are not going to ever help somebody when it's convenient for you. If they have to wait on your help till it's convenient for you, you're not helping. Understand, people you love are going to inconvenience you. There's a time when you put your foot down when something becomes unbalanced and it's getting to be too much. But help never is going to be something convenient. Okay? But what I am scanning for is I'm not looking for advantage or leverage or approval. I can care less about approval. I'm looking for truth, congruency, and just good energy. Okay, people who operate from fear always reveal themselves through microtension, incongruent tones, predatory curiosity. That's a big one. Or compulsive over-explaining. That's really big to me. Okay, they'll have subtle attempts to steer your perception. Or they'll have a pull towards your attention rather than a natural exchange. They want to get you off something else, and they want to distract you. My system picks up on it instantly. And there's nothing mystical about it. It's pattern recognition. It's energy recognition. Sharpened by experience, trauma, training, and instinct. All human beings are animals. We do have instincts. Return to nature, breathe, ground yourself, and watch how much instincts will come around. And I noticed something. When I'm vibrating in a very aligned, congruent, peaceful state outside in nature, the wildlife tends to respond. Okay, I've been told there's a morphogenic field. There's an energy. We emit an auric field. That's where our energy comes from. Animals sense that, man. And you'll get unnatural animal behavior because they feel at peace. They feel safety around you. They're not looking at you as some kind of predator. But I can see animal behavior changing on this planet because the planet is changing. And they are well attuned to things. Cryptid, again, I told you I was going to be all over the place today. Cryptid sightings, dogmen, Sasquatches, Bigfoots, Yahoo Yetis. I've had encounters in the last few years with all these. And some things that I don't know what they are. I'm not going to even try to say. I just know I've had these encounters, right? They're happening more than ever. These are beings who some consider to be guardians of liminal spaces. These are beings who know how to hide. But they're more active now. They know something. More and more people are seeing them. If you don't believe in them, but you believe in the bearded, invisible, glowing guy in the desert sky, I don't know what to tell you. Why wouldn't there be these other mythical things when we have extraterrestrial disclosure? And for years, what were we were lied to constantly for years. They'd send disinformation teams straight to Roswell. The Men in Black go straight there. If you've been lied to once, you've been lied to a million times. If you're not getting the truth from the so-called quote-unquote rulers and authorities of the world now, what makes you think they were telling the truth back then? Why would they take out 57 texts out of the canonical, if I'm pronouncing that right, New Testament, and go hide them in the desert because they wanted the truth to be hidden for later generations because they didn't want them to be destroyed? This is kind of what the side mission of the Knights Templars was to find ancient Atlantis technology so it wouldn't fall into anybody's hands. And they were able to get, well, you can look up Templar stuff. Some people don't like the Templars. I don't think they were all bad. I think there were some very valid warriors in that group. And they had a specific mission. Okay, there's books I've read, there's research you do. The American Indians called the Knights Templars blood brothers because they were here before Columbus. What's that island off of Maine? Oh my goodness. They think that some Knights Templars buried technology at that island. The legend of, what's the name of the island? This is terrible. See, I don't always write everything down. I would do a course or a class, or if I did a speaking presentation, I may have all this stuff written down, but I usually I'll have some notes, and I usually just talk off the top of my head on any given subject. But I'm speaking the truth. I'm trying to speak in a way where it creates this flame of curiosity that the division that's being caused is not normal, and that people in a natural state do not want to murder one another. They have to be driven to it, fooled into it, tricked into it. Okay? They do this by euphemisms, by obfuscation, by obfuscating morals. They'll have you think that two adults of the same sex engaging in something in the privacy of their home is immoral, but chopping off babies' heads and blowing them up is perfectly fine. Unfortunately, it happens in war, and we have to go to war. Why? For resources. Oh, yeah, we need that oil. When electricity could be taken out of the air for free. They didn't want that because it wasn't making anybody money, and it takes away a system of their control. They don't want to lose the nexus of any control. If we have Wi-Fi running through our air, we could have electricity running through the air. This is scientifically proven. We could have free energy. We don't need fossil fuels either. And we don't need to have electricity running a car for 15 minutes only in a smart city. When will human beings learn that they're not the boss of other human beings, and that as long as no one's advocating for or initiating the harm of another human being, another sentient being, what they do is okay with their lives? A friend of mine on one great network, Corey Enderlot, go check out his work. I plug people from time to time. I've worked with Corey, and he's a good dude. He just posted a video about a guy, I think it was in Missouri, who was being, he had to go to court and was being issued citations for growing sunflowers, the seeds and oils of which can feed people. The person had more than 10% of their property made as a garden. Well, they want us, there's a food shortage that people have been talking about that's going to be coming. And they've been talking about it since 2020, actually before that. But again, read Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper, who has wrote about the events that have been going on between 2020 and right now in 2026. He wrote about this in 1991. He was a naval intelligence officer. He talked about reverse engineer technology and real extraterrestrials that he's seen coming and going out of the ocean. We live in a fantastical place in a really, really, really fantastical time. But the 5-year-old that every one of us wants to scream, "You're not the effing boss of me." And people will then, their egos get whatever, "Oh, yeah, we are," and they're going to want to, it's stupid. It really is. Here's an analogy. If you lived on an island with one other person, and you demanded that they pay you a certain amount of their money or give you a certain amount of their crops, or you were going to take a certain amount of their land, would it be moral to do? No, it would not be. So it's not moral on a big level either. People will do the right thing. Anarchy comes from the word, the Greek prefix "and" meaning without, and archon meaning ruler. It means without a ruler. It doesn't mean without rules. True anarchists are spiritual, do not initiate harm, are not violence, aren't throwing Molotov cocktails or flipping over police cars every 4 years. They don't want rulers. They understand real spirituality. The people that are downtown flipping over police cars and burning shit every 4 years are people who vote for the cult of the donkey or the cult of the elephant, that actually work together perfectly with each other in perfect harmony and correspondence to one another's actions to drive a wedge in our society, to separate us, to create division through any category they can. Generation, race. I wish it was just about skin color now. People ain't even buying into the skin color anymore. There's so many other ways to separate us. They don't even have to use the skin color thing anymore. That's losing traction. There's too many people that are waking up to that. Their tricks are starting to lose their trickery, let's just say, but not fast enough, not wide enough. And this is why I'm not speaking out against. There's more and more Marines and soldiers that have been, they don't want to go to war. And it takes a lot of courage to say, no, I'm not. I'm a conscientious objector. I'm not going and fighting and dying for this other country. I'm not going to go fight and die for old men. I'm here in a defensive purpose in case we need to defend ourselves. Unfortunately, we live in that kind of world. But I'm not going to go do this and do that. You know, more and more are waking up. More and more cops in this country that won't commit immoral acts against the people they swore an oath to protect are getting to that retirement area. They're coming up with this other nonsense where there's fake police here, fake police there, fake police here, and this local cop was, impersonating police. Okay, why is that happening everywhere? Well, don't worry, we're going to federalize that too. We're going to get rid of all that. And then all these people that they brought over the border and showed you were bringing over the military-age males over the border, these are the people that pathway to citizenship are in the National Guard, that will do immoral things. All throughout history, mercenaries have swung that axe, hammer, and sword for pay. The solution to the world's problems is understanding true spirituality, which is understanding natural law, objective morality, and your rights. Your rights are any action you take that does not initiate harm. That's moral. And you can do it. Your rights are not things that initiate harm to other people. That's immoral. It's really that simple. Understanding that what we put out comes back, and there are variations of it. There is nuance. But in the simplest form of what I'm saying, don't do unto others that which you wouldn't want done unto you, if we had that ground-based level of natural law, then we could start working towards our higher selves, which I'm working on still. None of us are ever going to be perfect. That base ground level, that foundational level of this understanding that they call the occult. It's the occult, that's dark. Occult means oculus. Ocultary, meaning to hide, to take out of sight. It just means to hide. The occult is not dark or light, it just is. In my opinion, the actual monad that they call, or the actual God Most High, the actual creative energy or force is a lot more neutral than people think. And the beings that were brought into existence directly below that are like unto gods. And there is a feminine aspect to that. There is a goddess aspect to that. And a God aspect to that. But these beings that created us, and the beings that are going to be coming into our world, they're not gods. They're extraterrestrials who may have higher spiritual practices and knowledge, and they definitely will have more technology, but they're not all good. I'm sorry, they're not. I think there's some of them that are still here that never left this planet that have been ruling us for hundreds of thousands of years, and they've been pulling the strings. And they're not allowed to do that. This is why they have their monkeys do the job for them. As soon as it was made to where we could procreate, we became sources of light. We got that divine energy within us. They screwed up. We got souls and consciousness. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Just remember this. If you're being manipulated, if you're dealing with a narcissistic sociopath that lies, keep them out of your life. Keep them out of your life. Give them the gift of your absence forever. And music's coming on. Outstanding. All right. Nothing but love, everybody. Till next week. Stay safe. Peace.
To the last